And now on to the next story. We are officially on day 3 of the government shutdown. Again, at time of recording for this video, they are set to vote on this bill to fund the government within the next hour. We'll see how that goes, but I'm reasonably confident the Democrats are going to stand firm on keeping the government shut down. So much so that Hakeem Jeffries here is actually incredibly confident that President Trump is going to be the one to cave to their $1.5 trillion demands when it comes to funding illegal aliens in this country and giving them health care.
Dynamic, and given the way that the president has been tweeting memes about you, has been, in your words and the words of Democrats, already dismantling healthcare, what makes you think that he will negotiate anything? What makes you think that he and Republicans will cave to you?
Public sentiment. At the end of the day, the public knows that Donald Trump and Republicans have shut the federal government down and that they're continuing to engage in the chaos and the cruelty and the corruption that we've seen from this administration from day one of the presidency. Again, this is the first week of their shutdown, but we've had months of chaos and cruelty unleashed on the American people. And the American people are paying close attention. And they know that it was Donald Trump and Republicans who have shut the government down. They also know that House Democrats are fighting and Senate Democrats are fighting to protect the health care of the American people, because the Republican health care crisis has been devastating to people all across the country, devastating to working class Americans, devastating to rural America, to urban America, to the heartland of America, to small town America, and to black and brown communities all across America. We've never seen anything like this in terms of the pain that has been inflicted on the American people by Republicans.
And you got to admire, at the very least, how they just stick to their liar narrative no matter what. They are still trying to address this problem as Trump is taking away healthcare from American people. Notice how they don't use the term American citizens, though. They don't like that term a whole lot because that would actually not be the truth for what they're pushing for. And they're talking about cruelty. I got news for you, Hakeem Jeffries. Deportations are not cruel. They're part of a very legal process. And truthfully, for some of the people being deported out of this country, it's a lot more gentle of a process than they perhaps deserve when you actually look at the criminal record of a lot of these scumbags who are in this country illegally committing crimes, heinous crimes, horrendous crimes, and then being deported for it. They deserve a lot worse, in my opinion. But so confident is Hakeem Jeffries that Trump will be the one to cave to their demands and give them $1.5 trillion. Let's see how President Donald Trump has been speaking about this shutdown, though.
There was an OMB memo going around suggesting that there might be firings during the shutdown. Do you think that will happen if the shutdown goes for a little bit of time, sir?
Well, there could be firings, and that's their fault. And it could also be other things. I mean, we could cut projects that they wanted, favorite projects, and they'd be permanently cut. So you could say, a lot of people are saying Trump wanted this, that I wanted this closing, and I didn't want it. But a lot of people are saying it because I'm allowed to cut things that should have never been approved in the first place. And I will probably do that.
And just like tied in with that previous story moments ago I covered with Nick Sortor being assaulted and then arrested by Portland police, they're now cutting funding to Portland. So we're seeing this happen. They've been cutting funding to states like Wisconsin, I believe, is one of the other ones. And there's a lot going on. They're following through on a lot of this. They've already gotten 154,000 forced resignations to cut down and trim the fat off of the government job market that's been overinflated, largely in part because of Joe Biden, who created a bunch of senseless, useless government jobs to artificially inflate the jobs market during his presidency, of course. This was one of the best things that could have happened from the conservative standpoint, and President Donald Trump is virtually giddy about it. So it doesn't seem to me like Hakeem Jeffries is correct in the fact that Trump will cave on this. I don't think any of the Republicans are going to cave on any of this because their demands are next level outrageous. They're Looney Tunes level hilarious. And some of the consequences that we're seeing even, like Planned Parenthood. This was massive news yesterday. Planned Parenthood clinics in Wisconsin have halted their abortion services due to the funding crisis. They can no longer access Medicaid funds. I don't know about you, but I voted for that. I'm thrilled that that's happening. When I see stories like this, I say, let's just keep the government shut down. Why reopen it? Why reopen it? Like, that's one of the best things that could have ever happened coming out of this. At the very least, that's why I hope the government stays shut down for the next 30 days, because the amount of work, unhindered, unobstructed work that President Donald Trump can accomplish during this shutdown is going to be glorious. And I've covered in my last episode again why Chuck Schumer looks terrible during this, so it only hurts the Democrats. The truth is also being put out there by Speaker Mike Johnson, who just comes out and says it like it is, and says, you know, this government shutdown is happening because of Democrats.
Well, welcome everybody to day 2 of the Democrat shutdown. Let's make absolutely clear what's happening here. Real pain is being inflicted upon the American people because 44 Democrats in the Senate have voted for the 3rd time to reject the completely nonpartisan, completely clean, very simple 24-page continuing resolution that we passed in the House here 2 weeks ago. Now, why did we do that? For a refresher for everyone. We have been working very hard, this leadership team, to get Congress working again. Congress has not done the appropriations process appropriately for many years now. And so we have forced the muscle memory back. Our appropriators have done a great job in bipartisan fashion, by the way. And they've worked very hard and passed 12 separate appropriations bills through the committee as is supposed to be done. We passed 3 of those off the House floor. The Senate did its work. For the first time in years, the Senate passed 3 appropriations bills off the floor. Those bills don't match up exactly. So the way the system works, everybody remembers from civics, is that when the 2 chambers have bills that don't align perfectly, you put together a conference committee. That's been done. All of that work's been done very deliberately, very carefully, and as good stewards of taxpayer resources. The problem is we ran out of time because the end of the fiscal year is September 30th. So we did the logical, simple, good faith thing. Instead of loading up a continuing resolution to keep the lights on, to keep the government open so this process can continue, instead of loading it up with poison pills or gimmicks or tricks, we sent over a very simple continuing resolution that every single Democrat in the Senate has voted for in the past, just to keep the government open for the people, so that we could get to November 21st, 7 weeks, to allow more time for this process to play out. That is what happened. Now, the Democrats did something they've never done before. Chuck Schumer has led them all to vote against it.
Now, not only does Mike Johnson just come out there like that and state, oh, yeah, this is the Democrats' fault. Here's why. Here's the history of the Democrat Party. They've never done anything like this before. They're only doing it because of Trump and because of Chuck Schumer, etc., which is absolutely phenomenal. And I'm glad to see that he's taking a stand like that. But Mike Johnson takes it a step further, which is even better. And he cites proof of all of their lies, using their own version of demands, their own written down demands against them, referring to it by page, and stating, in fact, that you can go on the government website and view this for yourself, which you can, and I have done, and I recommend you do as well. I mean, it's beautiful. And after I show you that clip of him doing so, stay tuned afterwards for a hilarious CNN rendition of it, because you'll notice I am showing you this from the CNBC side of the reporting. Obviously, multiple broadcasting networks were recording this. CNN, though, had an absolute meltdown over this. And in true liberal broadcast mainstream media fashion, they did the most despicable thing that we've seen them do countless times. So stay tuned for that. But first, you got to listen to this because it's brilliant how Mike Johnson cites their sources and states exactly where you can find their outrageous demands.
Now, why are we saying that they want to return and restore taxpayer-funded benefits to illegal aliens? Because that's exactly what they did. When they rejected the clean CR that we sent over, the Senate Democrats, Chuck Schumer, filed a counter-proposal. Now, what was in that counter-proposal? You can see it for yourselves. In fact, if you're watching at home, go to my website right now, speaker.gov. Go to the press releases tab and you'll see it. It's listed right there. Just click on it. I'd like you to turn in your hymnals to page 57, okay? Section 2141. It is there in black letter. They filed this. This is not a talking point. This is what they proposed. They wanted to add, instead of the clean CR that keeps the government open for 7 more weeks to allow us to finish the work, they proposed a wild list of partisan priorities. Among them, they want to return $500 million to the Corporation for Public Broadcasting to prop up left-leaning and biased media organizations. We're not doing that. The American people don't want us to do that. We don't need the Corporation for Public Broadcasting funded by taxpayers anymore because we're in their age of ubiquitous media. There's, 200 of you guys here? There's so many outlets. We don't need to do that. We're not going to do that. They wanted to cut, in the Democrats' counter-proposal, I want you to read it for yourself, speaker.gov. Go there and check it out. They want to remove the rural hospital fund that Republicans fought so hard to put into the One Big Beautiful Bill. We set $50 billion aside to take care of rural hospitals. Why would Chuck Schumer want to get rid of that? I don't know. A lot of those rural hospitals are in red states. You have to decide for yourself what the motivations are here. But they say they're for health care. Why would they want to do that? The other thing that they put in there is very important. And on page 57 in section 2141, not a Republican talking point, read from the Democrats' document themselves. They said that they want to repeal the health provisions of the One Big Beautiful Bill. Now, why is that so important? Because I want to tell you what those health provisions did. They eliminated all of the taxpayer-funded benefits going to illegals.
And so there you have it, the amount of bombshells that he absolutely dropped on the Democrat Party in just those 2 minutes alone are staggering. First and foremost, I do want to just cover the public broadcast network funding one because that is an outrageous demand. We're talking NPR and PBS. And, you know, his point is incredible there. There's like 200 journalists there. It's ubiquitous now, and there's plenty of media. So they don't need publicly funded government broadcast networks anymore to begin with. But on top of it, NPR and PBS shot themselves in their own foot by becoming incredibly liberally biased. And it was a gambit that they took in doing so that they ultimately lost as Trump regained power, is now currently the president, and will no longer be tolerating that. If you're going to be funded by the government, you should at the very least be as unbiased as possible. And when I tuned into PBS on like election night, for instance, it was clear that they were incredibly liberal. They despised President Donald Trump. They wanted Kamala Harris to win. And everything about their reporting was disgusting. It made me want to vomit. That's a government-funded broadcast network, or at least it was at the time, and I was thrilled to see NPR be defunded as well as PBS. They now have to run commercials like any other network to try to stay on the air. Deserved. Perhaps if they had done a better job being less biased, way less biased, then they could still be funded. They wouldn't have been in the crosshairs, but they found themselves justifiably so in Trump's crosshairs. They're defunded. They're never getting funded again. I don't want them funded again. He's completely spot on about that. And then, of course, at the end there, he drops the bombshell again on the healthcare for illegal aliens. It's just in there. And what Democrats count on is that their party of voters, let me see what my thermostat is. It says, it's a little warm in here, 74. That's about the average IQ of a liberal voter. And they know it. And they know these people only read headlines and only consume, 30-second clips on the internet. And so all they have to do is lie and say, oh, the Trump administration wants to take away your health care. And people believe it. They believe it. But the truth is, if you actually do any research, and I'm talking you just spend 5 minutes of research time, then you see that they're full of absolute shit. And Mike Johnson points it out there, points out everything. And people say, oh, well, there is no federal health care for illegal aliens. It's a loophole. What they want to do is open up the loophole for the states to be able to provide this. That's not going to happen. Now, like I stated, this was CNN's version of Mike Johnson delivering this speech. They have an absolute meltdown. The entire network does. Take a listen to how they handle this.
The Working Families Tax Cut included a huge provision. A big chunk of that bill was the health provisions. Now, why are we saying that they want to restore taxpayer-funded benefits to illegal aliens? Because that's exactly what they did. When they rejected the clean CR that we sent over, the Senate Democrats.
All right, we're listening here to Speaker Johnson. He's trying to frame the shutdown as a Democratic shutdown. He also falsely claimed that Democrats want to give extend health care to illegal immigrants. That is not true. Illegal immigrants are not eligible for federal health care programs.
Are you actually surprised that happened, though? I wasn't. Now, this was actually being shared right on. Speaker Mike Johnson shared this clip. This is what he has to say about it. He says, CNN is not a news organization. reason, they cut off the Republican press conference to censor the truth from the American people and lie about indisputable facts. On page 57 of the Democrats' own bill, they insist we restore $200 billion in health care subsidies for illegal aliens. CNN must correct this. And it's like, yeah, thanks, CNN. I was busy watching Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House, deliver absolute facts and talk about the government shutdown. But thanks for cutting to this bimbo here. I'd much rather listen to her tell me about how they're not going to air you, Mike Johnson, because you're a liar. Thank you, CNN. Great reporting. Now, here's OAN sitting down with President Donald Trump. I believe this was yesterday, where Trump just says it like it is. This is what the government shutdown is all about. And thank God it's OAN. We don't have to worry about OAN cutting off the president of the United States and putting on some blonde, middle-aged bimbo woman to explain to us how the president's lying. No, they just sit down with them and they let them speak the way any reporter should. This is the president of the United States. I'm much more interested in hearing what he has to say than some 45-year-old divorced blonde reporter who knows absolutely nothing about the government and literally is just a media parrot saying exactly what she's told to.
It's politics, and they're doing things and asking for things that you wouldn't want, and most people that are sane wouldn't want, and patriots wouldn't want. They want illegal aliens to get taken care of with health care. And it's not, look, I have a bigger heart than they do, but it's not even that. Everybody in the world is going to enter our country and say, give us free health care, give us this, give us that. It's going to ruin all of the things that we have, all of the plans that we have. Obamacare was never any good, but it subsists. It's there. And everything will be destroyed because no country has enough money to take care of that. So they want the illegals. They refuse to get away with open borders. They want to do open borders. If they ever got in, they'll open up the borders. We have closed borders now. You only come into our country legally. But they would open up the borders in 2 minutes. And you understand it better than anybody because you've covered it so well for so long. Even though you're a young guy, you've covered it very well. They want transgender for everybody. They want men and women sports. They haven't learned what happened in the last election. I think they forgot. And it's pretty amazing, actually. But in terms of the dollars or the money that we're talking about, they want us to take care of illegals. They want us to take care of people that can absolutely get a job. They're healthy and strong as you can be and young. And this is not what this was all about.
Now, I just got to say this. If you just listen to everything Trump said that the Democrats want done here, basically to undo everything Trump has worked hard to accomplish since January of this year, then please dislike this video. Do not subscribe to this channel. Block this channel. Click off this video and never come back, because here at American Advocates, we advocate for America first, and we love everything President Donald Trump is doing. And if you love everything he's doing, then be sure to subscribe to this channel. You're welcome here. Leave a comment down below what you think about this government shutdown. I think it's going phenomenally. If you agree, let me know as well. And finally, I'm going to leave you guys off on this story with Trump hilariously trolling all Democrat politicians who work for the government by taking control of their phones' answering machines and creating a new voicemail that explicitly blames the Democrats for the shutdown. After that, I'll show you CNN's meltdown over that as well. Not only did they melt down over Speaker Mike Johnson delivering hard facts and truth, but they melted down over this voicemail. It's amazing.
Make him call it.
Thank you for calling the White House comment line.
Hello, America. This is White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Democrats in Congress have shut down the federal government because they care more about funding health care for illegal immigrants than they care about serving you, the American people. Until Democrats vote for the clean, Republican-backed continuing resolution to reopen the government, the White House is unable to answer your call or respond to your questions. We look forward to hearing from you again very soon. And in the meantime, please know President Trump will never stop fighting for you. Thank you, and God bless you.
Now, what's even funnier about that is, according to some reports, some of the Democrats have returned to their offices upon learning about this voicemail being set up on all of their phones, and they've tried to record a new voicemail. They've tried to override it. Somehow, I don't know exactly how, I'm not a big tech guy, somehow It's set up, though, in a way where it goes right back to the original voicemail that Trump has forced all of their phones to have. So the Democrats can't stop this voicemail from being the predominant one set up on all of their phones within the government. Hilarious stuff. CNN can't stand this. They're breaking down over the massive Trump trolling between this and the sombrero memes on Hakeem Jeffries and all of the AI speeches Trump has been sharing. It's absolutely phenomenal. The Democrats don't know how to handle Trump's trolling, and they continually walk right into his traps and look incredibly foolish publicly every time they do.
Of what this message says, in part, it is the very partisan message that calls out and blames Senate Democrats for the shutdown, saying the House of Representatives passed a clean continuing resolution. Unfortunately, Democrat senators are blocking passage of H.R. 5371 in the Senate, which has led to a lapse in appropriations. Now, we've seen this language come from other agencies during this shutdown, suggesting to their workers to send similar out-of-office emails. But what's different here at the Department of Education, John, is that employees did not give their consent and that this was done without their knowledge. And I had one employee tell me today that they actually went back into their email, changed their out-of-office message twice, and it was reverted back and overridden by this actual partisan messages. So it's very concerning. The Department of Education also, and notably, not denying that this is happening. They tell me, quote, the email reminds those who reach out to the Department of Education employees that we cannot respond because Senate Democrats are refusing to vote for a clean CR and fund the government, adding, where's the line? Some federal workers raising real concerns about potential violations here of the Hatch Act, which of course states that federal employees are required to perform their duties in a nonpartisan manner.
This is very concerning, according to CNN. Oh, you know what's more concerning, CNN? The fact that you cut off the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, delivering his remarks about why the government was shut down, and instead decided to put a blonde moron reporter in the camera who knows nothing about the government. That's much more concerning, but you go on and continue crying about voicemails. What a time to be alive.